Welcome back to MSP TV. We are live this morning from the first day of the meeting of states parties of the United Nations Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, a historic day for this new treaty. And we are joined today, it's very honored to introduce you, by Ambassador Elaine White of Costa Rica, who has had the honor of chairing and presiding over the negotiating conference of the treaty in 2017. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you very much. This is a really wonderful day. It has taken us 5 years to get to this moment, but the treaty has been evolving in a very good pace, and we are very satisfied with that. And this is wonderful to see the interest of the international community and the response to this meeting of state parties.
Yeah, it really is a complete milestone, not to have this day and have the first time that the state parties to the TPNW are coming together to take stock. To what else are they going to do? Are there some elements in the treaty that have to be cleared up yet? What will state parties be discussing on the first meeting?
Yes, when a treaty starts its life as a treaty regime, there are some say institutional and procedural aspects that need to be settled. For instance, we need to adopt rules of procedure to see how the whole meetings of state, all the meetings of state parties are going to conduct the business. So we have to have rules of procedure, and we are going to have to decide about how we are going to work on the substantive issues of the ones that are included in the treaty provisions.
And it's worth mentioning that these rules of procedure are particularly inclusive and really allow for a strong voice also from society and observing states. So this is really a particular treaty in that regard as well.
Yes, I think the TPNW also represents the best practices of the start of the 21st century.
A modern treaty.
A modern treaty, and of course it has inclusion and provisions for inclusion and participation and transparency. It is very important that we have the possibility for countries that have signed but have not finished the ratification process, that they can participate as observers, or that we can have countries that have not either signed nor ratified to attend the meeting as observer states.
And you mentioned that ratifications are proceeding well. It's been 5 years since opening for signature of the treaty. Maybe not all of our viewers appreciate just how long these things take. So in historical perspective, having 65 ratifications after 5 years is fine and is a very good pace of development. But of course, we also have states here that have not ratified yet, or some haven't even signed yet. So there's observer states. What can you tell me about that?
Yes, it is something that we need to highlight also, that the issue of nuclear weapons, as long as they exist, humanity faces the reality that they can be used in any moment. So the concern about any use of nuclear weapons is a universal concern. And so this is why one of the reasons why we welcome all the countries that have not ratified nor signed to come to this meeting and to see how we are going to start our work. We know that Germany, Australia, Belgium, the Netherlands, who else am I missing? Oh, Sweden and Switzerland, they are attending this meeting of state parties. They have not yet signed, but they are attending this meeting, and we are very pleased with their decision.
Yeah, and it's all part of a process. Now, at the beginning, there was a lot of reticence. Some countries maybe feel a bit uneasy about the fact that weapons that they still rely on are being prohibited by the overwhelming majority of the international community, and therefore it's a bit of a process as well to come here, see that this is a very serious process that is inclusive to them as well, and that they have a space here where they can also figure out how to take steps toward the treaty and eventually join.
Yes, and how to engage, and so that they can also see how we are, as you say, how we are serious. And I remember during the negotiations, this was a very important point, to have meetings of state parties that could continue on developing the treaty, because the issue of nuclear weapons is a very complex and complicated matter, and we need technical knowledge and scientific knowledge and to inform the discussions and the decisions. And this is one of the reasons why there has been a discussion about the need to have scientific advisory for the meeting of state parties. So this is part of what we are going to be, the discussions that are going to take place.
And since this is a question that pops up way too often about the complementarity of the NPT, I just take this opportunity, speaking also of scientific advice, to ask you just how much thought went into it during the negotiations in order to make sure that it's absolutely crystal clear that this regime, this TPNW, builds on top of the NPT and is complementary with the existing treaties.
Yes, to start with, let me tell you that the negotiation mandate that was adopted by the General Assembly included a specific pillar that the treaty included the strong and comprehensive prohibition, that it complements and reinforces the rest of the architecture, including the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. So a very important part of the discussion and the negotiations was how this complementarity was going to be reflected in the treaty text. So it definitely was the will of it was the will of the General Assembly when they created the mandate, and it was the will of the conference when the treaty was negotiated. And also, this is important because there has been also working papers. There are going to be discussed here about this complementarity from the conceptual and from the legal point of view. So this is also going to be addressed during this conference.
Thank you very much for these clarifications. And after maybe slightly more technical part about expectations for the treaty and for the meeting of states parties, there's also another reason. I mean, we're not done yet with the celebrations on this historic day of the first meeting of the nuclear ban treaty, because we also have the news, and I think for this we should be joined by CEST, our campaigner in New York, who has news to share. Please fill us in.
Yes, good morning, Ambassador White. How are you? Thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you, Leo. First, nice to see you too. And thank you for having me, Leo. I do have exciting news to share, which is that on this historic day, as we open the first meeting of states parties, 3 states have decided to deposit their instruments of ratification.
3 in one day. That's a rare haul.
Single day. Yeah, exactly. And this follows, of course, just a few days ago when Guatemala deposited their instrument of ratification, which, of course, brought the first entire contiguous region into the TPNW as a whole. And that's Central America, of course, your region.
Very proud, very, very proud of Central America and the way that we have approached security. And now we have the whole region as state parties of the TPNW.
Indeed, congratulations to both of you. So that means 4 ratifications in the space of just a few days. And of course, also just in the last few days, as you mentioned, a number of NATO states spontaneously announced as well that they were going to join this conference. So really quite a lot of movement around the TPNW in leading up to and during Nuclear Ban Week.
Very much so. And I think as we proceed with this week, we will see, as Ambassador White was just saying, that the states have taken done a lot of work around working papers and taking substantive decisions. And one of the biggest ones from our perspective is the universality of the treaty. It's an obligation under the treaty, under Article 12, that all states parties work to bring other states into the treaty. And we think about universalization, not just about the membership, but also about expanding the norms. And so when you see this pace of ratification and all of these states coming, then you see how much this furthers the aims of the treaty. It's really much about that's what universalization is really about. And when we have a day like today, when we can be very excited that the treaty is working.
And that's also very much in line with yesterday's conference. Now that we have both the procedural side of the meeting of state parties, but yesterday also the substantive side of the actual arguments that led states to declare nuclear weapons illegal, and so it's all coming together in a way.
Exactly.
Yes, it was very important to review the latest developments on the scientific side of the consequences on the people, on the environment, on agriculture, on the atmosphere of any nuclear detonation, and needless to say, the specific consequences of a nuclear war. So we listened from the scientists, the evidence from the research about the potential impact that we would all suffer if there were any nuclear explosion today.
Even more important in the in the current security context. And so we really look forward to seeing also the political declaration that will be adopted by TPNW states parties. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. We really look forward to seeing how the rest of the conference unfolds. We'll be back with you today at 5:30 p.m. with the first updates from the conference. And I look forward to seeing you soon.